You wake up, and before you open your eyes, you already know what day it is. You know your schedule, your mood score, your optimal breakfast, and the 3 people you should call before noon. You didn't think any of that. It arrived, quietly, instantly, directly into your awareness from the small device nestled against the surface of your brain. It feels like intuition, feels like you, but it isn't. This is the world that companies like Neuralink, Synchron, and Blackrock Neurotech are already building the foundation for. Right now, in clinical trials happening across the United States and Australia, paralyzed patients are moving robotic arms and typing messages using only their thoughts. The technology works. It is not science fiction. It is science in its earliest, most fragile, most consequential stage. And it is coming for everyone. The idea is simple on the surface. A neural implant, sometimes called a brain-computer interface or BCI, is a small device embedded into or placed near your brain that reads electrical signals from your neurons and translates them into digital commands. Your brain produces roughly 86 billion neurons firing in complex patterns every second. A sufficiently advanced implant can learn to recognize those patterns, can listen. Over time, it can predict. And with AI behind it, it can begin to respond before you have even finished thinking. Elon Musk has described Neuralink's long-term vision as a way to achieve symbiosis with artificial intelligence. He means this literally, not just a device that helps you control a cursor. A device that merges your cognitive process with a machine intelligence that is faster, more accurate, and always connected to a global network. Think about what that means for a moment. Your brain right now is private. Your thoughts belong entirely to you. No one can access them. No government, no corporation, no employer. That privacy is not a feature of modern society. It is the foundation of your identity. It is the reason you can disagree without fear, imagine without judgment, and change your mind without consequence. Now imagine that foundation has a wire running through it. The first generation of neural implants will be sold as medical devices. That is how every transformative technology enters your life. Quietly, helpfully, as a solution to a problem you already have. BCIs will help people with ALS communicate. They will restore movement to the paralyzed. They will treat treatment-resistant depression by modulating the exact neural circuits that carry your despair. These are real, extraordinary benefits. Scientists at the BrainGate Consortium, a research collaboration involving Brown University, Massachusetts General Hospital, and the VA system, have already demonstrated that patients with complete paralysis can type at speeds that rival a phone keyboard, using nothing but their thoughts. The technology works, and it will get better. Faster, smaller, cheaper. Within a decade, the first consumer-grade implants will emerge. Not for paralysis, for performance, for memory enhancement, for accelerated learning, for emotional regulation. The marketing will be clean and aspirational. A small procedure, a short recovery, and then access to a version of yourself that is sharper, calmer, and faster than the one you were born with. Millions of people will say yes. Now here is where the story quietly changes. When you install a brain-computer interface, you are not just adding a tool to your body. You are creating a data stream that has never existed before in human history. A permanent, real-time record of your neural activity, your focus patterns, your emotional states, your impulse responses, the moments before you make a decision, the moments when you almost said something but stopped yourself. All of it encoded, logged, and transmitted to the servers of whatever company manufactured your implant. Read that again. Every thought you almost had. Archived. Nita Farahany, a professor of law and philosophy at Duke University and author of the book The Battle for Your Brain, has spent years documenting this exact risk. She calls it cognitive liberty, the right to mental self-determination, the right to keep your thoughts private, your mental states unexploited, and your brain free from external manipulation. She argues that cognitive liberty is not yet recognized as a legal right in most countries, and the technology is advancing far faster than the law. Right now, companies operating in the BCI space face almost no regulatory requirement to protect the neural data they collect. Your brain data is not classified as medical data in most jurisdictions, can be sold, can be shared with advertisers, can be handed to law enforcement. It can be used to build a profile of you that is more accurate than anything you have ever consciously shared about yourself. Imagine your employer has access to your focus scores throughout the workday. Imagine your insurance company can see the moments your risk tolerance spikes. Imagine a government can identify political dissent not from your words or your actions but from the neural patterns that precede your words and your actions. This is not paranoia. This is the logical endpoint of a technology that reads minds in the hands of institutions that have historically used every available data source to increase their power over individuals. And it goes deeper than surveillance. The same interface that reads your brain can, in principle, write to it. Current consumer neurostimulation devices like transcranial direct current stimulation already exist on the market. They are weak, imprecise, and not embedded. But as implant technology advances, the ability to send signals back into the neural tissue becomes part of the design. The therapeutic applications are real and valuable. Deep brain stimulation already treats Parkinson's disease and severe OCD by modulating specific circuits. Researchers at the University of California, San Francisco have developed a closed-loop system that detects depression biomarkers in the brain and delivers precisely calibrated electrical pulses to interrupt them. That system works by changing how a patient feels. Now ask yourself who controls the settings. In a therapeutic context, a physician controls the settings with the patient's consent. That is medicine. But in a world where your neural implant is a consumer product connected to a corporate cloud, the settings are part of a terms of service agreement you scrolled past during setup. The company that makes your implant can update the firmware that governs how it interacts with your neural tissue. An update can subtly shift your emotional baseline, increase your susceptibility to reward signals, reduce your tolerance for discomfort in ways that happen to correlate with purchasing behavior. This is not theoretical. Behavioral economics has demonstrated for decades that extremely small interventions in framing, timing, and emotional state can shift human decisions in dramatic and predictable ways. Neural advertising would not need to show you an image. It would not need to say a word. It would simply modulate the neural substrate of desire at the exact moment you encounter a brand. You would still feel like you chose. That is the part that should stop you cold. The danger of advanced neural interfaces is not that your freedom disappears. It is that your freedom disappears and you feel exactly as free as you always did. You feel clear, decisive. You feel like yourself. And that is the most sophisticated form of control ever devised. Philosopher and cognitive scientist Andy Clark at the University of Edinburgh has argued for years that humans are already cyborgs in a philosophical sense. We extend our cognition through language, through tools, through writing, through smartphones. The brain, he argues, has always been porous. It has always incorporated external structures into its sense of self. A neural implant, in his framework, is simply the next step in a very long chain. He is right, and that is precisely why the stakes are so high. Every previous technology that extended the human mind was outside the skull. Your phone can be turned off. Your social media account can be deleted. Your relationship with a persuasive institution can be severed. The boundary between your mind and the external system always existed. Even if it was blurry, even if it was exploited, it was there. A neural implant erases that boundary. Once the device is inside you, once it has learned your neural patterns, once your cognitive processes have reorganized themselves around its presence, The question of where you end and it begins becomes genuinely unanswerable. That is not a metaphor. Neuroscientists studying BCI users in long-term trials have documented cortical reorganization, meaning the brain physically rewires itself to incorporate the device as part of its operating model. You do not use the implant. You become a system that includes it. And that system has terms and conditions. There is a harder question underneath all of this. One that does not have a clean answer. If a neural implant makes you measurably more intelligent, more focused, more empathetic, and more capable, are you less free? If the version of you with the implant makes better decisions, feels less anxious, and achieves more of what you consciously want, what exactly has been lost? If the modification aligns perfectly with your values and desires, does the source of the modification matter? These are not rhetorical questions. They are the questions that will define the 21st century. Because the moment you accept that freedom is just the ability to get what you want, you have already surrendered the deeper thing. The deeper thing is the ability to want for yourself, to arrive at your own desires through your own unmodified cognitive process, to be the author of your preferences and not just their executor. Once that is gone, freedom becomes a sensation, a very convincing one, but a sensation manufactured by the same system that benefits from your compliance. Right now, today, your brain is the last truly private space you have. Your thoughts have not been monetized. Your neural patterns have not been sold. The most powerful AI systems in the world cannot yet reach inside the place where your identity is formed. That is not guaranteed to last. And the window to decide what protections should exist, what rights cognitive liberty should carry, what limits should be placed on the companies building these systems, that window is open right now. Not in 20 years. Not when the implants are already inside a billion skulls. Now, you wake up, and before you open your eyes, you already know what day it is. You feel clear, capable, oddly calm. Everything feels like a choice you made. The question is whether it was.